Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Grassroots Racer. This week's episode is brought to you by Motacare. Now, Motacare have been a great supporter of mine for the past year now, and they've continued to jump back on board this year, which we're really excited to talk about. But if you ever need to use Motacare services, and if you're in the Bendigo area, they have their own service shop. So, these guys, they're very locally based, and they're there to help you out. These guys are awesome, and they've supported me for ages, and I can't thank Peter Welch, so who I do the radio with, him and his boss Jeff. Those guys support me through Motacare, and we really appreciate it. And that's why I recommend you guys to use their services because not only do they help me out, it's supporting local business, and this is one thing I'm trying to promote. They help me out, and all I can ask is if you're thinking about going to someone for a car service, I would hope you choose Motacare. But on to this week's episode of Grassroots Racer. I'm speaking to Rob Boaden, who is one of my competitors in the Formula RX8 category. He's a great guy and it was an awesome chat. I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. And obviously, if you're listening on Facebook, we now have Spotify. Or if you're listening on YouTube, we also have Spotify. Vice versa, if you're listening on Spotify. So we also still have the donation link up. So if you can put in a donation, it would be really appreciated. If you can't, all we ask is you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy this episode of Grassroots Racer. So, how did you first get involved in motorsport, and what sparked your passion for racing?
Oh, probably as young as about 5 years old. My dad was racing. He raced a Toronto sports sedan throughout the 90s and early 2000s. So pretty much being spoilt for racetracks in New South Wales when we were back then. So Oran Park, Amaroo, Sydney Motorsport Park, and then a few hours down the road was Wakefield. So we were at a race meeting every once a month, once every 3 weeks or something like that. So yeah, pretty much grew up my whole life at a racetrack somewhere in New South Wales. So no, it was pretty good to just sit back and watch all the good drivers and stuff like that. So it's always you don't understand how much you learn as a kid just watching. While you might not do go-karts or something like that young, but like as early as 5 or 6, I already knew what an apex was. You know what I mean? So it's it's definitely a learning being kind of like a second generation racer.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
being a kid, your brain's like a sponge, so you're gonna soak it
Oh,
all up.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah. I couldn't
and
tell you much about mathematics and stuff like that, but I'll tell you all you need to know about a racing line. So
fair enough. And
yeah.
I'm guessing, your dad was quite accomplished in sports and ends, and you would have picked up a fair bit because, as who the viewers might not know, Rob Boaden races Formula RX8 with myself, and a lot of
Yeah.
the other guys out there. There's 26 of us. So
Yeah, good field.
he's currently the championship leader. So he's probably taken a fair bit from his father and put it into his own experience.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he was one of the fastest six-cylinder drivers in New South Wales in the sports sedan. So he won a numerous six-cylinder championships and stuff through New South Wales Road Racing Club and stuff like that. So yeah, still got the lap record at Sydney Motorsport Park on the old track that used to have the sweeping motorcycle corners down the back there behind Corporate
Oh
Hill.
yeah,
So yeah, before they changed the layout and that. So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, good
But
little name to fame. He drops it all the time. So.
I was gonna say, what was your first car that you jumped into?
Like race car or a road
Yeah,
car?
race car.
Race car. The first one. Oh, geez. It was either that Tirana. I can't remember how old it was. Or for my 18th birthday, we got or I got a drive in a Formula Ford at Oran Park on my 18th birthday. So it was kind of like it was a Peter Finlay driving experience. So yeah, that was good fun. I can't remember which one came first, but it was around a similar time. So yeah,
Yeah. And as lots of people know, Oran Park closed down in
yeah.
2016. So, what did you make of the track, and is it similar to anything else you've driven?
Um, Not really. It was such a good track to watch at, like you could see the whole track everywhere. We did the South Circuit in the Formula Ford, so it was just a short track, but um having driven it on the simulator as well as like in real life on the South Circuit and stuff like that, like it's exactly how it was with bumps everywhere they were supposed to be and stuff like that. So it's really good, and it's probably one of my favorite tracks to drive around, like technically wise. Hard to race on. It looked like a pretty tricky and tight track, but yeah, good fun to race on.
Yeah. I obviously I was about 8 years old in 2016 when it got closed down in its final
Yeah,
year.
right.
So I've done a few things on iRacing like we were talking about earlier. And it looked like a pretty cool track and it would have been awesome to watch and race at.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, tight and twisty, but I mean undulations, all the kinds of corners you want in a racetrack is that what it had,
Yeah. And when you jumped in the Formula Ford and did your test day, did you think that, racing an open wheeler was something that you wanted to go towards, or did you always have a thing for tin tops?
Well, it's one of those things you pretty much just get into anything you can at that
Yeah.
age, anything you're happy to jump in and drive, jump in and drive. Don't think open wheelers is probably, it was always like a funds issue or anything like that. So from there, once I kind of settled down and bought a house and something like that, we went go-kart racing from there. So we did 7 or 8 years of go-karts or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah. That's it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So what tracks do you have up in New South Wales for go-karts? Because I've never raced up there in the go-karts.
Yeah. Oh, there's a few. I pretty much did a lot of the just centralized Sydney East Coast kind of tracks. So our home track up here at Newcastle, out of Cameron Park, there was pretty much the home base. But then, yeah, a couple of hours up the road, you got Taree, Port Macquarie. South, obviously, got the one at Eastern Creek there as well, and then
Oh,
out
yeah.
out at Lithgow. But one of my favourite tracks to race at, it's surprising because it's a bit of a go track, was the one at Picton. Wollongong Kart Club used to run out of there all the time. And for whatever reason, I could turn up and have like the 10th best kart and I would be near the front somewhere. So it was just a real driver's track kind of up and down the hill and real balls. You had to use some grass here and there. So I don't know, I really, really enjoyed that track every time I went there. So,
Yeah, I think we've got two similar tracks like that. One of them got a bit changed, and the others, it's the layout's still the same, but they had all the bumps repaired and stuff. So my
yeah.
local town, Bendigo, and then in
Hmm.
Melbourne, out Oakley Way, they had a track that was built on a tip, so it would move all the time. And
Oh, right. Yeah.
pretty much, if you could drive Oakley and Bendigo, if you were quick around both them tracks, you could drive any track in Victoria.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
and obviously being local to Bendigo, I won a lot of races out Bendigo, but
Yeah.
Oakley,
Nice.
I don't know, I just never clicked there. So it's just
Yeah.
one of them weird things.
I used to say that about Newcastle too. Newcastle's pretty technical, just over a kilometre long. So lap times around the high 40s, low 50s, and something like that, depending on what you're racing. But they said, any kind of corner you need there, like fast, real fast, long loaded corners and some switchback corners and stuff like that. And if you can drive good there, you drive good pretty much anywhere around the country. So
Yeah, it's go-karting is a very competitive field. Um,
yeah, not wrong. Yeah,
it
I've never had a brand new go kart either, so I've never been at the front fighting for wins a lot of the time. We just used to have everyone else's second hand gear because money was pretty tight. So, but you know, every time it rains, mate, yeah, you put me at the front. For whatever reason, either like the wet or the cart wasn't the main characteristic of the driving capability in the wet. So, always went to the front when it was raining. Loved it.
yeah, I was lucky enough. Like we were still on a tight budget, but back then we didn't realize the fact that I was going to race cars when I was older, so we
Yeah,
splurged out a little bit in the go-karts. So
gotcha.
we were doing like 30, nearly 30 races a year, which is a
Yeah,
lot. Um,
not wrong. Yeah.
and it was pretty expensive. But the thing was, I was doing wet races all the time and
Mm,
practicing all the time when it was wet. So it's just one of the things that I had so much confidence when I jumped into it. And I just feel like that's where people struggle in the wet, just confidence. But it's
mm,
understandable.
absolutely. You'd have a fair bit of wet days down in Victoria too, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, when I was climbing out of go-karts and I went to supercarts and Formula V, we used to race at Phillip Island every two
Yeah,
races
nice.
or whatever. So
Yeah,
it was always rainy there.
for sure. Yeah,
Have you ever raced
good
it?
penguin weather.
Yeah, have you ever raced at Phillip Island?
No, no, only on the sim, but yeah, it looks like one of those bucket list kind of tracks and stuff. So yeah, one day we'll get there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but it's yeah. If it's looking sunny, if it looks 34 degrees, bring a jacket.
Yeah,
The weather changes so quickly
wind.
down there. Yeah,
You get the wind off the ocean and stuff, or Tasman Sea down there, or whatever it is. Yeah,
yeah. And then
yeah.
your track limits isn't the white lines, it's the geese that stand on the road. So
Absolutely. I saw one of them get cleaned up with one of the Trans Ams down there the other day. So
yeah,
standing right on the edge of the track.
there. But then after you jumped out of go-karts, what did you move into next?
So we from go-karts, we actually did this program called the Race Academy International. Trevor Mirabito and a bunch of guys and stuff set this up to just try and it was like a driver search competition, try to get the people that weren't that funded to sort of get them into grassroots motorsport. So we ended up winning that drive, and for that we got 3 rounds in the BMW E36 series in one of Dave Bailey's spare cars, so that he was kind of leasing out here and there. So we jumped into that and had a little bit of success. Got a win and a few podiums and stuff like that. So I think we finished third in the championship that year, and we only did 3 of the 4 rounds. So yeah, pretty good effort. And then from there, we were like, what do we do? What do we do? We got to see if we can do something like this. So we ended up buying a car ourselves with the intent and just to start building it over the course of a year, put a little bit of money aside and build it when we could. And that was right at the start of 2020. So then COVID hit. So had a lot of free time after that with working at a go-kart track. We were pretty much the first things to get shut down with people needing to share helmets and stuff like that. So yeah, we had like 10 weeks straight away just to sort of, you know, head down, bum up, and try to get some uh, progress done on the car. So we ended up finishing it at the end of 2020 and debuted it in 2021, and we won the first round straight away. So that was pretty decent. And then unfortunately, we had a couple of mechanical problems throughout that season in 2021, and then COVID hit again, so they cut the season short. We ended up finishing third in that season as well. So
Yeah,
yeah, but the car's strong. It's a fantastic platform. It's really sort of helped me adapt to the RX8 platform as well. Front engine, rear drive. They have very similar 50-50 weight distribution and stuff like that. The engine sits behind the front axle, so it's a very nice handling car. So
yeah,
yeah, just low on power because we only run the 1.8 liters or 1.9 in the newer model ones. But yeah, it's one of the best handling cars. Just not that much power, so you can tell. Obviously, those E36 platforms are, with the M3s and stuff like that. They're pretty bulletproof cars. So
yeah. We're sort of a BMW family. Like we've
yeah.
Dad owns an X5, and I found a cheap 5 Series, a 1999 one. So I've
Oh
got
yeah.
that, and I'm trying to road register it as my P-plated car, but
Yeah.
um, it needs a bit of work. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's BMWs are so cool. They handle really well,
Mm,
and
absolutely.
just if you stay on top of the maintenance, they're pretty cool cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Fix the oil leaks in them and super glue in the blinkers, and we were right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty true.
Yeah.
Well, this one's got like a vacuum sort of issue, so I've got to sort that out. But
Oh yeah, plenty of vacuum lines in there. You keep that. The minute you stop the vacuum in a BMW, the whole thing falls apart.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
And then so you raced the 30 E36s, and then you jumped into RX8 Cup, I believe.
yeah. Yeah. So no, we've never raced RX8 Cup.
Oh, you
Never
never
raced
raced?
that. No. Was it 2022? We entered another driving competition called the Battlers to Bathurst. So that was one Richard Mork was putting together to put a team of underfunded drivers again to jump into Toyota 86 and race in the Bathurst 6 hour. So we ended up winning that seat as well. So jumped in, did the 6 hour at in Easter in 2022. I think we finished seventh in Class D, which is like the most competitive class with all those 86s and stuff like that they
Mm.
run. So I think we finished 35th outright or something like that. But at the end of the day, it was just get to Bathurst, do all the laps, or get to the finish line, and fantastic sort of platform to sort of jump into like production style racing. So another very good platform, front engine, rear wheel drive, nice handling cars. So that was pretty good. And then from 2022, 2023, we continued with the E36, and we won back-to-back championships. I think we had like 60 race wins or something like that from a couple of seasons. So for pretty much just sort of East Coast stuff. They race in the MRA Championship as well as some Victorian. Victorian Motor Racing Series stuff. So we're a small group. Everyone's super friendly and will help you out. And one of the best sort of low cost championships that you can get into. I can't think of too much more cheaper and close racing than you get than the E36s. So if you're thinking of getting in, is a little plug for the E36 race series because they're such good guys, and they were just running tonight just before the Sydney 300s on tonight. So really good racing. I think for the podium there was 0.003 in it or something like that at the line, so it was pretty close. But they're good guys. So we've still got the car, so we'll take it back and do some rounds here and there whenever we can in between the Formula RX8 stuff.
I was just about to ask. So Formula RX8 is a great platform. It's dragged heaps of different drivers. Like it's quite random the amount of drivers
Yeah,
you meet someone, introduce yourself, and you find out they've done a million things, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. So
yeah.
great platform. And how did you find out about it, and how'd you get involved?
Obviously, I'm pretty good friends with Ryan Gorton, around the Newcastle area, part of the Newcastle Motorsport Group and stuff like that. So I already knew of him, and I've known the Harris boys, so Brad and Will, and their dad Bill and stuff like that. Bill used to race against my dad in the '90s and stuff like that in sports sedan, so we kind of grew up together at the racetracks and stuff. So knowing that they were involved, it was kind of like, well, we've got to see what we can do. We wouldn't say we've outgrown the E36, but we're definitely sort of the one to beat there. So I just kind of want to push myself. I was at that time where I'm like, okay, financially, maybe we can do something a little bit more, something kind of national. And when the Formula RX8 series came out, and they're like, this is non-for-profit, nationally televised, all that sort of stuff. I'm like, well, this is a no-brainer. We can just registered the interest, and we ended up talking to Rick Rogers, our car owner for this season, and just sort of put a bit of a deal together to hopefully see out the whole season, and sort of test ourselves against that next level caliber of driver. And with the caliber of drivers that we saw at round one, Ryan Gorton was there, Brad Harris, Brock Payne, Stephen Devjack there, like there's some pretty good skill in that top group and that. So to test ourselves, and obviously coming out in round one and winning that one's a little bit of a surprise. I'm not going to be honest. We only qualified fifth, so but obviously race pace is there, so we can hold our head up high and try and move on from continue our good form.
Well, obviously, you rocked up. We all rocked up at Winton. And we all
Yep.
did. We all did quite well considering it was nearly like 50 degrees or
Oh,
40
it's hot,
degrees.
eh?
It was just stupid hot. And then,
Yeah.
it was the first time a lot of guys drove an RX-8. Um,
Yeah. Me
was it your,
included. Yep.
yeah, you as well?
Yep.
And
Yep.
to find the waters at Sydney for a lot of us was
Mm.
quite tricky. So, considering that you qualified fifth straight away in a car you've never raced, even though you've done Sydney in the
Yeah.
past, it's
Yep.
jumping in an RX-8 is a totally different experience. So,
Not
I
wrong.
think I
Yeah.
think you did quite well.
Yeah, cheers. Obviously, Sydney Motorsport Park's probably as home a track as we get from being from Newcastle. And I've done probably thousands of laps around there too. So you know the track, you know where all the tricky parts are and all that sort of stuff. And then going to the Winton test for the preseason test thing there for Formula RX8 was good just to jump in the car, you know. So I love Winton. Winton's one of my favorite tracks. So we got there and we were one of the quickest, if not the quickest, at the test. So to then translate what I was feeling in the car, felt pretty comfortable. Like I said, it's very similar to the E36 platform, and then being able to push the limits a little bit more at a track that I know. It's obviously a lot more higher speed than Winton, and that's where that um, yeah, you really have to trust yourself with the car because there's no point barreling in at 200 at down in turn one and not feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do quite good speed. Would you say the RX8s because obviously the BMWs would be quicker in a straight line and
No,
whatever.
no,
No?
the RX8's quicker. Yeah, those we're only running the 1.8 liter BMW E36s, so I'd say maybe we're like 180 max 190 at the end of the straight at Sydney Motorsport Park. And I know I looked down at the dash in the draft behind one of the boys there at Formula RX8, and it definitely at 201. So a little bit, yeah, that's the quickest I've ever been through there. So yeah.
I was gonna say, is the RX8 sort of the quickest cornering car you've ever driven?
Um, it's hard to say. They do have a fair bit of grip. Don't, yeah. But I mean, I've actually driven a Bathurst winning, the 2007 6 hour, a 2017 6 hour car, the BMW, 1 Series that, my boss Luke Searle, and Paul Morris won in. So I drove that down at Wakefield. That was probably one of the quickest cars I've driven so far. It's obviously, twin turbo 6 cylinder. It's
Yeah,
pretty quick. So it's probably the quickest car I've driven, but obviously we only did it at Wakefield, so the speeds are a little bit lower down there as well. But so yeah, that was probably one of the quick. Yeah, would have been one of the nice handling cars. RX8 though, with the tires that were on, they're good until they're not. Like I found that with as soon as you get it a little bit sideways, it doesn't like you for the next couple of
mm,
corners for sure. They take a little bit to come back where I haven't felt that before, you know. Yeah, on the Kumos that we run in the BMW and the Hancooks for the production car, like that, I never felt that straight away. So, but yeah, uh, just in that scenario, all you want to do is keep it straight, and the more the more you work the tires, the more it hates you. So,
yeah,
be consistent. Don't let it slide around. And obviously, we won round one by doing that. So it wasn't the quickest, but we were definitely the smoothest, I'd say.
yeah. It's when you're looking for because you won the round as well as winning the last race. Did you win any others on the weekend or just the last one?
Yeah, we run the reverse grid race from ninth, so
Oh, right.
that was the one where Dev, Jack, and Harris got together and sort of made a bit of smoke show in front of me. It was a little bit touch and go whether I should go left or right, but we picked our best way through, and that was on the last lap, so I only had to get to the line then. It was good.
I was gonna say because even if you don't win all the races, it's more about being consistent with it. Um,
Absolutely. There's
and
only
winning.
1 point difference. So, like 20 points for the win, but 19 for second, 18 for third. So, as soon as you DNF with a big fat zero, you'd rather just finish fifth and, you know, be only 5 points off the race win. You can get that back later, but dropping 20 points in a race, you know, that's,
Hmm.
you do that a few times a year as it'll ruin your championship.
Yeah, that's it's definitely true. And
Mm.
luckily for some people, like it's good to have a drop round and then it's also not at the same time, so hurts some people, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the drop round's going to go yet. I have to speak to someone about that because we only had the 3 races out of 4 that were counted for
Mm.
points. So even if I finish, you know, fifth in the next 4 races at Morgan Park, I'll get more points than what I got at City Motorsport Park, and that would be my drop round, even though I won races. So we'll figure it out. Talk to some people and see what happens. So.
Yeah. I was gonna say, is there any tracks on the calendar that you've never driven on before?
Yeah, I haven't done any of the Queensland rounds. So the next swing in Queensland, Morgan Park in Queensland, never been there before. I haven't been to the Bend either. I'm really actually looking forward to that, getting to the
Mm.
Bend. Definitely looks like a bit of a driver's track. So, but yeah, from there on, we've done the rest of we've done Bathurst, we've done Winton, Wakefield, or One Raceway as it's called. It's going to be probably new for everyone. Not sure if they're resurfacing the whole track or not, but they've definitely got a new couple of sections there. So while it might be might be familiar in some sections is going to be brand new for everyone in some other sections. So
So they are changing the layout of the circuit.
a little bit, yeah. I think like just after turn 1 and 2, they're throwing in a couple of different corners there or something like that before you blast up the hill. And that last corner, I think it's going to be banked, like a bit of a bank corner. I'm not sure if we're doing it in both directions because they're going to run it clockwise and anti-clockwise. It'd be good to do like a Saturday one direction and a Sunday another direction, but depends on what licensing they get, I guess. So we'll see. And yeah, hopefully it's just a bit of a challenge, different challenge for everyone.
It would be cool to see that because I would like, as a driver, I'd like to have practice both ways. But then again, I think it'd be cool to throw everyone in the deep end for
Yeah,
one day and see how they go.
yeah,
But
not wrong.
it's
Really looking forward to it. It's not all that far from home either. So
yeah, well, being Newcastle in this championship isn't too bad.
yeah, a little bit central, other than South Australia, I guess. But 8 hours to Queensland, 8 hours to Winton, and everything else in between. So not too bad.
Yeah, and how are you sort of feeling about Morgan Park? Have you done any laps on the simulator? Or
No laps on the sim, but I've watched some laps on YouTube and stuff. So fingers crossed, we've got an idea on which way it goes out of the pit lane exit. So yeah, looking forward. It's gonna be tough to beat a few other drivers that have been there before. I know there's a few people that have raced in the other RX8 championship up there, as well as you know other categories. So yeah, it'd be tough to beat the locals, but I mean they came down to Sydney Motorsport Park where I'm the local, and you gotta make hay where you're good. So
yeah, I was gonna say, Mr. Lewis, he's always pretty quick, so he raced Morgan
yeah,
Park last year, and um, I think Steve has raced there in the past as
Steve's
well.
been there.
So
Yeah, it's
there's
probably Brock's home track up there. I don't know if he's raced his RX8, but I know he's driven an RX7 around there. So he's got a bit of local knowledge. So and they were up there testing at Queensland Raceway the other day, I think. So yeah, they'll be hard to beat up there. But like I said, it's just about staying on the island and getting some. If we don't win, as long as we're up there in the top five, it's going to help our championship massively. So
yeah, no, that's fair enough. It's yeah, if you can collect the points, that's all you sort of want to do, and try and
absolutely.
build a good championship campaign.
Yep.
They're not counting Bathurst for points, are they? Championship.
I don't know. I think it's still a little bit up in the air. Like I think it's still going ahead, but I don't know what's happening. But I guess we'll find out closer towards the middle of the year when yeah, they just put a plan together.
That's fair enough. And obviously we were talking about Rick Rogers is preparing your car. It's not your
Yeah.
car, it's his car.
No,
Is
yeah.
there is there any plans in the future to try and build your own car and see how you go? Or um, you
Oh
know,
yeah. You never know. It's kind of we're just sucking it and seeing it at the moment. Seeing how the platform is. How reliable these cars are. I've got a race car in the shed already, but I guess if we were to do our own thing, then we'd have to get rid of that car. And it was yeah, good fun building it with my dad and stuff like that. So it's kind of one of those sentimental things as well. It's such a nice handling car. You don't want to get rid of it to get another car. Ideally, you'd have just another car, but it's not financially viable that way. So we'll see. You never know. Yeah, you never know what's around the corner. We're just really just concentrate and putting all our eggs in the basket for this season and seeing what happens.
cool. Bit of a random question for you, but do
Yeah,
you
mate.
hold the lap record at your go-kart track?
I don't know. Some of the kids I hire do. A lot of these kids I uh, taught how to drive. So a lot of younger staff that work for me like do our racing league programs and stuff like that. So a lot of them come in and they've just done years and years of racing league, and I've taught them things that I know. So to be able to pass my knowledge onto these younger kids, and then they go ahead and beat my lap times. It's good to see, but yeah. I'm a little bit heavier than some of these kids, so
Yeah, that's the excuse all my mates use when I go karting with them.
oh
So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Still
um,
holds up.
yeah, I was gonna say, do you have any sponsors or supporters you'd like to thank for jumping along with the journey so far and getting you to Formula RX8?
Absolutely. Major sponsor we got on the car this season's G Technic. They're putting a lot of effort into our program this season, so that's good. We got DPO, who's been my sponsor for the last couple of years. They've jumped on board for the Formula RX8 Championship as well. Pro Apex Seals, they've been a massive sponsor for the category, not just us, but and their oil program as well, the RPMOS as well. And then EcoSafe Chemicals and Car Care Wollongong, couldn't do without them as well. And yeah, other than that, we got just a local Tyre Power Toronto, and their sub business there, West Lakes or 4x4 West Lakes. So they're helping us out with like tire fittings and stuff like that. They've helped us out with wheel alignments and stuff in the past. So definitely couldn't do it without those guys. So
Yeah, it's all the local guys who get you to the track. So, without
absolutely.
them, you wouldn't go racing.
Yeah, not wrong. Yeah.
Uh, do you have any do you have any advice for your 16-year-old self if you could tell him something?
Oh, Um, we wouldn't buy an old go kart, that's for sure. It probably took us, maybe not 16. I was still sort of high school, but yeah, I don't know. Buy a more reliable go kart. We just wanted to get in to do go kart, so we bought like a cheap banger, and we spent like 12 months trying to get it reliable. So do a bit more research and actually buy a better go kart to start off with. It's going to save you 12 months.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But thanks for jumping on tonight, Rob. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. You've done a lot in motorsport, and you take a lot from your father, who's also raced in motorsport for many, many years. So obviously you're a well-established racer now, and I better stop talking you up because I'm your competitor. So, well, that's
All
if I
good,
catch you.
man. Any little hints and tips and stuff like that I come across, mate, I'm happy to share.
I appreciate that, and
Just between you and me.
yeah, we'll be keen to see how Rob goes at the next round at Morgan Park in Formula RX8. For my sake, I hope I beat him, but for the podcast sake, I hope he does really well and continues the championship lead.
I appreciate it, and thank you very much. Good luck as well.
Cool, thank you. And to anyone who's racing this weekend, remember drive fast and take chances. Thank you guys, appreciate it.